Hi again, and welcome back to All Things Data. We're back now to talk about the shift in paradigm that is no-code and low-code development environments. So without further ado, let's get going.
Hi, Victor. So I've heard a lot about this low-code, no-code movement lately. Can you tell me what it's all about?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm sure that at some point in the past, you've heard of things such as WordPress, Wix, Shopify. If you're a little bit more of a marketing person, you may have even heard of other platforms, like Drupal also exists. These are all sort of visual modeling tools, let's say. So in terms of visual modeling, it basically means that whether or not you do know some development practices and some code, some languages that you might use, still often much easier to do things that are prescribed to be done in a certain way. So if you think of WordPress, it basically renders almost all of the HTML for you, and you kind of do a little bit of drag and dropping with some plugins on WordPress that allows you to visually create an entire page. It's similar also in the world of Wix. If you've seen their commercials, it's very often drag and drop and add a picture here and a video there, and there you go, you're done. So it started with generally marketing facilities at organizations wanted the ability to deploy or put things out quicker. And very often when you get IT involved, it could take a lot longer. There are different practices. You have to get on the right project management track and change all these other things. If you want to deploy something quickly and easily, or just put it out there like a web page, why do you need all this other overhead to put out a different web page?
Right.
It allows you to basically, whether you're like the marketer and director of marketing, or you're like the intern, you can make some changes to a website. And you'd probably have it in draft, but somebody will look it over and be like, it's good to go, let's put it out. So that's sort of how it started happening. A lot of these tools existed to help both developers do things faster, largely because if you go from scratch, it takes some time to get things done. And also, let's call them just the business. So the business itself can do a lot of things more quickly. What we've heard actually is that 3/4 of all businesses are already using low code, no code in some capacity, and not specifically in marketing or not, but all across the board. I think I read that in Gartner that something like 70% of new applications developed by 2025 will have been developed in a no code or low code way. Those things end up being very often created by what are called citizen developers, which are like these marketing or business folk or whoever that aren't necessarily used to having all of the tools that IT has and all of the language knowledge that developers would have. They're still able to put out meaningful, good apps.
What is the difference between these two development environments then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, oddly, the world seems to use these sort of interchangeably, which is not really correct. I mean, low code environments are still sort of made for developers because it literally does not have no code in the name because there's still a little bit of code required. You can imagine that that little bit of code might be like the most involved parts of an app. Maybe it's not like the UI and the visual aspects of it, but maybe it's something like some crazy business logic or machine learning or something like that that's required. So you would definitely still need IT or developers or engineers in the loop. Whereas the no code environment is literally like an environment or a platform where you absolutely need no code. You hit a bunch of buttons, you drag and drop some things in a visual way in a GUI, and you can actually deploy meaningful applications that way. The no code world has become more and more important over the last 4 or 5 years or so. And it gets used quite a lot. And a lot of new platforms and new businesses that are created are generally created with business in mind. So we're all kind of striving more and more towards the no code platform without trying to be prescriptive of, you guys will only solve one problem with our platform. It's only going to stir a tea. Like, that's not what you want. You want a platform that can stir a tea. You can also pour hot water. It could possibly even make that tea bag. It could do all kinds of things around the world of tea if you were making an application for tea. Now, in the world of low code for developers, you might think, well, why is it that a developer would want to not code? It seems counterintuitive, but it's not just that the developer doesn't want to be in that world of coding. It's that the whole software development lifecycle involves a lot of steps and a lot of oftentimes overhead that is required of the IT shop, the development environment, the people, and whatnot. So in a low code environment, you get all of this stuff sort of out of the box, right? So it's a nice visual tool, which is great. You drag and drop, so it makes your life easier. There's scalability, security, and reliability and reusability built in. And it's very often built in a way that's cross-platform. So if you're building for all kinds of browsers, it works on all kinds of browsers like Safari and Internet Explorer and Chrome and whatnot. And it does a lot of the things that IT would support, like monitoring, reporting, and of course, lifecycle management. So you can think of tools like Tableau is a good tool, Dataiku is a good tool, Snowflake is a good tool for this. So there's a bunch of tools that exist where people can go and drag and drop and connect different things and say, when blob of data reaches this state, I want it to go here and do all kinds of things. And then maybe I have to jump in and actually do a bit of code in those things. But 90% of the work was done by my platform.
Are there versions of low code, no code in AI and NLP?
So those are more recent happenings, and there are companies who do things in the world of machine learning, ML, though they're not only tailored for that. A really good version or example of that is Dataiku. They're a French company that's crushing in this world, really. So they provide you with an entire data management platform that you can then deploy as kind of data products, let's say. So you could deploy APIs or spreadsheet things or all kinds of pipelines where my data comes in a certain way and I want my systems to see it in a different way. So make those transformations. So that's wonderful. They do that. And then, of course, what we have at 1000 ml with Apogee and Zenith, it's strictly no code. The reason being that you put in the documents or the content that you want into our system, and then you deploy a myriad of different kinds of applications and programs. And the inherent deep learning, machine learning, and NLP, NLU, and NLG is just baked in and works out of the box. You can interact with it to help train it and make it slightly better. You're doing that still in a no-code environment. We don't want to put tools in front of the business that they're gonna balk at or not quite understand. So that's what we did, is we created another one of these no-code environments, but that deploys itself in many ways so that it's useful for the content that's coming in.
Wow, very cool.
So as you can imagine, the world of no-code and low-code has largely revolutionized how applications are made, and has made the barrier to entry actually a little bit smaller for organizations and departments, really. So you might imagine like a little back office department wants a small application to do something, some of their data transformations. They could wait months and try to get IT involved, or they might have somebody who's pretty adept at these sort of no-code, low-code visual tools, and they could get that done in, let's say, a week. There are advantages to these platforms, especially when they're vetted by IT, because they're already on side with your IT practices. Mm-hmm. So now you're in the world of, I'm doing things that IT is going to be cool with, and also I'm doing them so much faster, and I don't have to get that part of the business involved, when basically me writing the requirements for this application or for this product is almost as difficult as me using a visual tool to create it. So there we are. That was episode 10 in All Things Data. We'll keep releasing these hopefully on the weekly. Whenever we do miss, we'll come back with a version from the past, just so that we keep you interested and make sure that you keep listening. Thanks again and have a great week.